trying the Three Sisters method of planting for the first time this year, and I ran into two problems that I'm definitely going to have to solve next year. One was the space issue, and the second was the time issue. Now for the space issue, I figured I could try this method of planting in a market style garden row. And the problem with that is it doesn't have enough space for you to harvest anything. So I come in here and I can't find some of the green beans that are in here. I can't make my way around the outside because it's just too jam-packed with everything inside it. Now for the first issue, which was space, what I should have done is actually space this stuff out a lot more than I did. After reading and researching more, I found out that I should do sort of 2-foot mounds and have about 3 feet in between each of those mounds going both ways, so you can have paths through them. I can see now why they suggest this, being that when you start growing like this, I have trouble harvesting any of the beans that are in here right now. I have to search through stuff and dig through stuff. I'm worried about stepping on this squash and the pumpkin that's growing out away from this. So having more space will allow us to better see and better harvest everything that's happening here. So in each of those 2-foot mounds that are spaced about 3 feet apart from each other, I should have only grown about 7 stalks of corn and maybe maximum of 4 bean plants. I tried to maximize everything in here and just crowd everything in. And what's happened again is I'm having trouble finding beans that are in here. Just everything's so intertwined and tangled. It's almost like its own little jungle in here now. So if I had 7 corn plants, 4 bean plants around that growing up and holding that together with maybe some squash here and there, it would be much easier again to look after it and harvest it. Now for the time issue, what I found this year is I planted everything at the same time. Because we have such a short growing season, I threw all the seeds in here, and what had happened is as the corn started growing up, the beans kind of overtook the corn, and in some cases started dragging the corn down instead of using it as a support. So for the corn, you really want, what I've understood is, to get it about 6 inches before the beans get started. So for us, we're gonna have to start the corn inside to get a head start on the beans, which we kind of want to plant as soon as the ground is workable and starts warming up just a little bit. So the corn would go in, have it 6 inches tall, then plant your beans and your squash, and that way it gives the corn enough time to get up ahead of the beans and become a support. So next year I'll probably try this again. It's working pretty well even for the way I did it. But in our back section here, where we have kind of a market garden style, we have 3 rows. So what I'll do is I'll plant on the outside 2 rows, and I'll leave the middle row as a walking path. As well, what I'll do is I'll leave sort of 3 feet in between each 2-foot section where I'm gonna plant. So I'll have squares going down the outside rows, and I'll leave the middle row and some paths across to be able to walk in and just give stuff more space to grow, especially the pumpkin and the squash. So the problem I have with this style of gardening though, doing the Three Sisters in this method, is I'm gonna lose prime garden space. I'm gonna be dedicating a whole bunch of that good soil to pathways in between this Three Sisters instead of maximizing it for other products. I think what it'll come down to is seeing actually how much we harvest of everything this year, and then we can better plan for next year what garden space we want to dedicate to what produce. So guys, if you like this video, check out this one down here about when we first tried to start growing our own wheat and grain and how it worked out for us.